How are you guys today?
Very well.
Who's warm in here? Yeah, it's hot. It's a hot day. Well, thank you for coming today and just listening to big data. We're going to do a little different session. We're going to be talking a little bit about the business side as well as the technical side of it. But like I said, my name is John Zifcak. I'm the CEO of ZULLOO. And what we are, we're a real estate valuation platform. We're building an artificial intelligence engine using big data, machine learning to solve real estate challenges. Now, by a show of hands, who in here has ever bought or sold real estate, whether it's a home, a condo, or a townhouse? How was the process? Was it fun? Was it transparent? Did you guys understand what you were buying and where the values were coming from? Did everybody go to like ZULLOO and do those estimates? I mean, that's what everybody's doing right now. I mean, all the industries are changing. This whole day is about technology. I mean, our whole life is about technology. Everything's changing, evolving as we're doing, with the exception of real estate. That's the one industry that I've noticed throughout the years where it's not as transparent. There's a lot of siloed information, a lot of siloed data. And so you don't have the advantage of like all of these different industries where you do see a pretty good top-down perspective of what's going on so you can make better decisions. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take all of this information, look at all this data that's out there. I mean, it's being collected from all different perspectives. And we're generating it all the time. And for the most part, real estate is going to be the biggest transaction of people's lives. Now, when you're asking to put a large sum of money, the LA area, the average sales price, depending on what market you're in, you're looking at $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. So why is it that you're going to be paying that price? And most people just trust their realtor. Is anybody in real estate? Real estate broker, agent? Oh, round of applause to that young lady over here. What a realtor is like a data scientist. Why? Because they have the magical key. What is that key? They have access to the only data point, or the data center. That's the, starts with the letter M.
MLS.
That's right, it's the MLS. What is the MLS? It's just a group of listings, properties that have bought and sold. And that's all it is. So realtors jump on the MLS, depending on their background, they evaluate what the values of properties are. They're at the computer. I mean, everybody has a different perspective and different value. That's why you have all these different valuations coming across. What we're trying to do is, we're trying to build an artificial intelligence engine where it enhances the realtor's mindset, where it takes all these different data points, what our CTO is going to be talking about how we're actually doing that. And essentially, it's going to give you a perspective where you're taking the emotional side of it out of it, because that's what it is. Most of the time, the realtor is basing the values of properties based on their experience, based on the local knowledge of that particular marketplace. There's a lot of realtors that are working in different areas, but they really don't understand that area very well, so they can have valuations going across the board, whether it's too high or too low. That's why sometimes you get in negotiation battles, and sometimes what usually happens in a deal where they're off too much.
The deal falls through.
Yeah, the deal falls through. The realtor gets paid by the commission, so if the deal falls apart, all that effort is pretty much wasted. So I mean, we wish that there were some tools out there that can actually help the buyers, as well as the sellers, kind of bring them together and give a better idea. Now, there's a lot of structured data, unstructured data. What do you usually do with it? How can you actually make sense out of it? We're here for the NoSQL track. So from the business side of it, these are some of the benefits that are actually going to be a byproduct of what we're essentially trying to do. So this is the business side of it. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the technical side and actually what it is that we're doing and how we're going about it. So without further ado, Mr. Anton, Polishko.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Anton. My background, actually, I'm coming from applied math background. Then I did computer science and bioinformatics, which was pretty much and machine learning for biology problem. And I ended up here at ZULLOO doing some solving real problems in this field. And actually, from my opinion, like real estate is the best use case example of how big data was evolving. So if you're late to the party and you only like join this field right now, here is one of the famous kind of like slides from IBM guys. So this is how they explain big data, how it was like evolved, and I'll try to kind of like replicate the same way how big data coming into real estate industry. So back in the days, like decades ago, companies were working with some raw data that was like really good, clean data that you collect about your enterprise. Let's say it's a sales or something. But then we started to, like enterprises wanted to see what is the feedback about our product or things like that. So it's kind of like, instead of just having structured data, you're starting to have something like, oh, you know, I'm happy with your product, or I want this feature to be added in the reviews. So we're starting to get like unstructured data, and there was a huge need to, you know, mine that thing for some valuable information. So it's kind of the phase of feature extraction. And again, the data started to, you know, tenfold increase in the data world. Then afterwards, like we're already in the field of these two like areas. First of all, it's not enough just to, you know, okay, here's our product. Let's, you know, collect some data about it, extract features, and, you know, make it better. Now we need to interconnect different domains. Like we need to see, oh, here's like likes on our Facebook page about whatever domain it is there. Maybe it's relevant to our customers. Let's figure out what product is it. So this is pretty much, again, even, you know, next step in terms of data volume. And in terms of big data, 4 V's, right? Volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. So here we start almost no volume. I mean, big volume for those days, but not for today. It's like nothing. In terms of speed of inquiring, it again depends on your application. Now, here we're getting more and more volume and velocity of the data too. So Facebook likes are immediate response. But now we're actually at the stage of this area. I would actually call it why we have a data science hype these days. It's because we have too much data, right? And we actually get technology to process the data, but we don't have actually like kind of, can we do something better than like the regression model on top of these data points, or some decision trees? We want something bigger than that. So the same way, so this was kind of like the start of big data, and this is where all of this Hadoop type of technologies were emerging. Now SQL type of technologies were kind of like along the lines, at least I view it this way. That was, and you actually can see how going from the structured data, or like basically SQL databases are designed to work with that. And we have like a parallel kind of like with scientists, engineers looking for a solution that will be like accommodating other problems that arise. Like it's really painful to work with the data when it's kind of like comments from the social media, like to store it. I mean, there is no benefits of using SQL at all, right? But you have benefits of using some other data structures. But at the same time, the stories, if you look at the Postgres SQL database, like it already has support for JSON natively, and this is pretty much what SQL database was first kind of like the biggest hype they created was for web development, working with the easy store of JSON data and so on. So let's focus on specifically on real estate case. So as we already mentioned, multiple listed service. This is like that first area, like first data that is like, we're really confident into it because this is real estate, they work with it, they always like, you know, making sure that it's correct and everything. So it's kind of highly curated data. It's not that big of the volume. If you look at the, let's say, Chicago metropolitan area, kind of like huge real estate market. It's actually like about 1 million records for the last 3-4 years. Not that much, right? So we can do some really cool stuff with that data. And it's, again, it's highly structured. It's essentially about like how many bedrooms, bathrooms, what is square feet, you know, in your house and so on. But at the same time, we have descriptions from real estate agents, like, oh, it's a nice condo with awesome view, come check it out. So there is some unstructured aspect of it too. Plus you have pictures. In the future we'll have 360 tours and so on. So there'll be loads and loads of data too. So it's big data definitely coming in. Now we also have public records, which is, okay, this is kind of like just a massive pileup of data. You can extract, I mean, first of all, it's the same sales records, but you can, miss this, like square footage is wrong and so on. So it's like, this is like highly unreliable data, but at least it's kind of free. You just kind of figure out the way how to set up that data stream. Then you have third-party providers who can, again, based on public records or whatever sources they manage to set up, they could provide you with some relevant information. Like one of the key features for value of the house is actually proximity of schools and so on. So kind of like, at least from our perspective, this is kind of like things you, like in the modern age, you need to accommodate all of this. You need to figure out how to get as much free data as possible. You need to get access to MLS somehow. Then you need to work with other people who do walking scores, noise scores, and so on. There are a bunch of companies doing that right now. And what we can all say about this data is heterogeneous. It means every house is unique. Even if you take cookie cutter house in the same like development block, after a few years there will be like totally different houses. One house was trashed, the other one was like nobody was living there, all misty and so on. So what you need to, like the biggest challenge is like how we can make, like all of these models to come up with value if, everything is different and unique. And so this is kind of like history content. This is essentially MLS data. Now you have some unstructured data there too, public records, all this kind of like third-party providers of school reviews and so on. There's different domains. ZULLOO, we operate, we're trying to get kind of like, okay, we have this field with the most coolest data science, trying to connect all of these factors together. So typical solution in this field is the so-called AEMs, automated evaluation models. It's pretty much either hedonic regression or some decision tree, like nothing actually cool about it. And usually it's again, it's all based on, this structured feature. It's actually MLS is like 99% of, decision making. Our project is slightly different. I'm a big proponent of Bayesian networks, probabilistically graphical models, and so on. So our kind of like, there was a lot of questions how we set up that thing in terms of data storage and so on. And so real estate data, it's a combination of structured and unstructured data. We have a lot of missing data, so it's like sparse data. And the most key aspect is like geospecific. So it's all, location is how realtors describe everything. So our goals when we're picking up, let's say, our data storage was, first of all, it should be shared with the data science team and web development team. So actually, I wasn't for web development, but data storytelling. Those guys will visualize what you do. So it's kind of important to have like the same tool for everybody. You need it like horizontal scalability, and you do a lot of EO queries. So our solution was, as a startup, right? So there's a young company, you need to figure out like the cost of that solution. You want to have some free support. In terms of free, I'm just mean community support. There's stock exchanges. I mean, can you Google the answer in stock exchange and things like that? So after all this consideration, okay, MongoDB is perfect. They have actually a really cool engine to do like peer queries with the spatial index. I personally love them because you can work with like, polygons and stuff. And actually, like a year ago, the same conference, I was both talking to MongoDB guys, college grade guys, and kind of like it was really cool experience just to see how I was asking questions, how you compete, like what's the benefit for me as a young company to go with your solution and so on. But at the end of the day, our thing was because like web development team were using Reacher.js stack and as baked in MongoDB support, it kind of was like, I did a lot of research on the page, MongoDB okay for us, but then in the end I was like, MongoDB is the only option. So anyways, this is how we set up. So we have pipe on our data, which is dumped into MongoDB. Now we have, both interaction with data science team, which is essentially, again, as a data science guy, you probably always like agnostic to data storage, right? So usually data scientists, they don't really care what you use at the back end. It's, oh, we actually need, CSV file to load, columns, figuring out the features, how to do this missing data, and so on. So it's pretty much like NoSQL is the solution to go that way. Now, down the road, and given like the next big thing that's coming in and all of the troubles we had, is essentially, first of all, you need speed, especially if you consider like the future scale of, that will have much more features and so on. So one of the cool stuff that I kind of like discovered over last year is graphical databases. Even though they're not SQL technology at this point, because it's easier to focus on SQL stack, but they're like super fast. So all of this like Redis, Memcache type of thing is nothing compared to what you can do with GPUs. So this is kind of like interesting thing to consider, and kind of like NoSQL will come to that place too. Graphical databases, actually there'll be a upcoming talk about this, I'm really looking into it. Graphical databases should be perfect for real estate data, because you can view every real estate entity essentially not in the graph, and it's connected to it comps, if you're familiar with this terminology. It's kind of a similar house in the vicinity that was recently sold. So essentially you're building a huge graph structure on top of the data. So that is kind of like one of the, I would say, future steps to incorporate it. And now we have a lot of kind of like coming in the field is GraphQL, kind of like software, how you can connect different databases, different sources, and so on. So you can merge essentially graph databases, SQL databases, NoSQL databases for like Apollo stack, for example, solution for web development. So it's kind of, we're getting to the field when we're becoming truly like agnostic in terms of what to use in the back end. So it's makes everything much easier for the data scientists. They were kind of agnostic, but now there will be tools to actually make it even more easy and simple. The same thing for web development. So this is kind of like our next step is essentially we do use, again, MongoDB is awesome just for storage, so take it down. But we're also looking at this GraphQL layer just to connect with our like data storing team, essentially web stack. MapD is one of this GPU accelerated databases. Looking for them, it's kind of cool to connect graph databases and so on. So that's pretty much it. If you have any technical questions or business questions.
Section. Wow. Does that wake everybody up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just kidding. I'll use the microphone then. We just wanted to get through this part real quick because, like I said, this is going to be a different sort of talk. This is the technology behind it. What I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of get you guys involved a little bit. You guys are professionals here. We even have a real estate industry professional here. What are some of the challenges that you see as a consumer or a user when you are looking at real estate? What would you like to see? I mean, any input? I mean, this is where, look at the brain power around us. This is where everybody's in here. Does anybody have any input? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Real time.
Real-time data?
Yes, a lot of times it's not very accurate.
Yes, you're totally right. The reason why I think it's not accurate for marketing purposes, most of these websites are designed so you can be curious. You want that property map, you want to go take a look at it, right? How do you look at it? You look to the left, you look to the right, you click this button, you fill this form out, and who does it get sent to? It gets sent to the young lady right in the back. It's the real estate agent. Why? Because most of these sites have to monetize. So I think real time, you can get there, but there's going to be some limitations, or a lot of limitations. Because most of these sites are not for-profit organizations, but they're for-profit. So they need to somehow monetize it. Yes, sir?
Predictive analytics.
Yes.
So you should be able to predict based on your data which properties are going to go higher in the, go up by how much.
That's actually very accurate. We've been playing around with this. I've been doing this for 15 years myself. For my personal self, what I've been doing is I've been investing. I've been a real estate developer, investor, as well as a technologist. I have a master's in information management, and that's what I've been doing. That's the secret right there. You want to invest in a property where you think it's trending up, or it's sideways, where you can invest in there, do what you need to do with it, either hold on to it, rehab it, put the property back on the market, and just make your money and continue to do that. A lot of these people have been doing that. I know a lot of hedge funds, a lot of investors in 2006, 7, and 8, when everything was going down, that's one of the things that they were looking at. They were looking at the analytics part of it, and they saw that the trend was going down. What did they start doing? They had the cash. Oh man, they were buying up properties like you wouldn't believe it. Now, little by little, they're dumping them because it's been back. So yes, predictive analytics. Thank you. That'd be a great piece. Yes, sir.
Can you show us how this thing actually works today, or?
Right now, we're in a beta, close to a lot of realtors. One of the things that we are focusing on is on accuracy. We don't want to put out a product out there that's not going to be accurate. What most companies do out there is they put a product, minimum viable product, get it going, and they get some user feedback. With us, it's a little different. We need to make sure that the product is accurate. Our data science team is on, and we're using all the different technologies. We spend a lot of time in the Bay Area dealing with all these different providers, architecting our solutions, and making sure that it's scalable, as well as cost structures are there as well as everything. Yes, ma'am.
Can you focus just in the U.S. or do you do anything international?
U.S. at this point. What are you thinking internationally?
Well, there's a lot going on in the UK housing market these days.
Yes.
It'll be a little messy for the next couple of years.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
I said that'll be a little messy for the next couple of years while they go through this.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Your target market and how are you making money?
You know what our target market is? We want to help two folks out. One is the consumer. There's no transparency in this industry. And two, the real estate professionals or the industry. The realtors, they don't have a lot of tool sets. Most of the realtors are usually part-time. It's the 80-20 rule. You have 20% of the realtors making 80% of the sales. So we want to help these folks out there, as well as the consumer, give them more information, David, as well as to give them a better idea of what's going on. Who in here, to give you a little bit of an analogy, who in here knows the stock market or bought a stock? I mean, pretty much everybody, right? Why did you invest into it? What tools did you have? You usually put a ticker symbol in there, and that ticker symbol gave you a 52-week history period of where it's going, where it's trending, so you have a better idea and a better picture. Now, imagine if that ticker symbol or that stock symbol was an address. Could you do that with real estate now? For the most part, no. So, anybody else on the technical side? Any technical questions?
Is this for ETLs? It seems like you guys are data agnostic. So data science doesn't do extracting data from a database and transforming it?
What is ETL? Well, the thing is that we work with partners to provide this ML assets already that are cleaned up data. We don't really work with public data at this point in terms of data science because it's just too noisy. So it usually just messes up like the physical tools to tune the models. Then third parties also like we're working with the guys who like more or less around the data, so it's concept integration. And then it's so basically in terms of we don't need to do a feature. How do it here? So we don't really need to use anything like that yet. The only thing is that what we're right now using is IBM Linux platform to analyze pictures and extract pictures that we want to predict based on the picture of the property. Is it like high-end or is it kind of analysis? Not properly at the house. Because one of the problems for relation is that it's like in what condition is the house? And since we're not going in and checking out anything, we need to predict that somehow. So in terms of this, there's like image recognition that we use for showing.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick one. besides your hedonistic regression and your decision tree algorithm, right? Have you guys thought about considering any other algorithm?
So actually, we're not using those. Those are like old school, like they're pretty much like 10 years ago, that was like the way to go.
Okay.
And that was based on 10 years ago, before mortgage industry started kind of this research. What we use, we actually use probabilistic graphical models. So as I said, we essentially model the whole real estate landscape as a huge graph. And now you're trying to build like connections. So basically, you take specific property, and now you're trying to, predict the values, right? So you're trying to build a distribution of the values, given the school is nearby, given sold properties nearby. So it's kind of Bayesian approach.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Hand back. You got a question?
Well, no, actually, I believe I don't think that y'all are heading in my direction. I was just going to ask, which this probably has nothing to do with what you guys are creating within your data universe here, but I was just wondering if you were planning on implementing any drone 3D modeling into your database to help.
Like aerial photos and things like that?
Well, and yeah, using a drone to aerial 3D model.
I had a similar query too, like maybe virtual reality.
Well,
integrate that.
one of our plans is essentially this. We want to build a quite, what we call it, engine. Again, kind of a hype term, means not really anything. But our goal is to be able to be easily extensible to different features. There's a problem of current approaches that are based on regressions, right? It's, oh, we want to add another layer of data. Okay, we need to retweak everything. And the more features you have, you quite quickly get into the point where nothing works anymore. So we're kind of like, you know what? That's why I like Bayesian approaches. Given something doesn't make sense or not, maybe it's irrelevant and you will kind of see it with the model immediately. So it's baked in, like solution for kind of feature overload, things like that. At least in theory, in practice, it's not that easy.
So nothing like that on the horizon that you guys are just focused on.
That's not our immediate focus. Yes.
Well, maybe like in a few years when that data will be available. The question is can I go and see it right now? What
Yes,
actually?
I have a software design that's actually.
But I mean, like, is the data based?
No, it's beautiful. He's actually been able to do full 3D renderings using a drone from.
Well, look, my question is,
I know,
can I
and
have
how
it
does
for
it
the whole
apply
area?
to?
Right.
Can I have it like for the whole area?
Exactly.
Our challenge is we're not looking at a micro perspective,
Exactly.
more of a macro perspective. Once it's there, we'll definitely utilize it. One of the things we're utilizing at this point
It's
also.
still new.
Yes. Yes, sir.
It seems like you have a great data set that you're working on, but you're only addressing half the market, because everything you've talked about is after an owner decides to sell. If, as an owner, back when the market got hot, we were getting all these generic mailings saying, you want to sell your house? Use us.
That's the marketing part of it, though, sir. That's
But it
the
seems
challenge.
like you might have the data to predict who would be more likely to sell, not just which house, but they've been in for this long, they have a history of doing this, or it's owned by another party. If I could go to a realtor and they could tell me, I got 5 people that haven't listed yet, wow. That would be, especially in a hot market. That would
Sir,
be
there's
very
actually
nice.
2 companies, that's a very great question, great perspective, and great point. There's a couple companies out there that are doing that, and once again, they're monetizing it. What they're doing is they're selling it's called farming system, farming leads, and they go to realtors, they go to mortgage brokers, and they sell these leads. I mean, they're pretty heavy, depending on what zip code. It could be a couple $1,000 a month just for that, just for the leads alone. Yeah, so what they do is they use all these different types. That's not our focus as a company. We want to help consumers out as well as a different industry by giving them a better perspective on pricing and valuations and where the trends are going. What you were talking about is you saw the property sliding down, right?
Well, it was going up, and
Yes.
it was a seller's market, so they were trying
Okay,
to
so
find
seller's
sellers.
market, either it works both ways, whether the price is going down, whether it's going up. Because depending on which side of the transaction you're on, are you a buyer, are you a seller? When can you get in, when can you get out? As a buyer, am I paying too much? I mean, did it reach its peak? Am I going to be caught in a bad market that I can't sell? I mean, that's what happened in 2008. We had the prices, a lot of speculators were out there buying properties thinking that the next 6 to 12 months that the properties are going to appreciate another 10, 20, 30% and they'll make their money. Well, unfortunately, people didn't see the other side coming because they haven't experienced it. So there's no tools out there, there's no tool sets, there's nothing pretty much out there as well.
But to add to this problem and predict when somebody wants to sell a house, it's pretty much, if you have high volume website that people go to check in your values like ZULLOO, yes, they could do that, just, oh, this guy's like checking his value like every day, right? Time to, do some marketing. So we are not on this scale to use this kind of like low-hanging fruit, I guess, when you get the volume. But like we are focusing on like different problems, like really, we're only baby steps in real estate. That's the thing is, everything is just like basic first thing, like, oh, now we have this MLS data, let's build a regression from it. After that, pretty much nothing happened. So that's we're trying to kind of address. You know what, let's do something more sophisticated so we could be able to bring at least like technology landscape to the point that, on top of this, now we can predict not by somebody actually checking the website, but kind of some features from the house itself and market. So kind of, these guys are probably wanting to sell. And then if you have some other signals, like, they're checking out your website, time to, do some lead gen for realtors and monetize.
But right now, it makes a lot of sense to limit your use cases as you start out.
Yes, sir.
So how are you guys different than any of the other valuation websites like Zillow or Redfin? I mean, when you pull up your address, you're getting a number there.
Sure.
So your house is worth $1.2 million.
That's a great question. Zillow is a great company. They've been around since 2005, 2006. If you look on their website, they focus on 27 different features, different functions. Their strong suit isn't the valuations. They call it your estimate. That's really not their bread and butter. They said it's a good starting point. Redfin is a real estate brokerage, kind of like Coldwell Banker or Century 21 or Remax. They essentially want to, once again, it's all about where are your eyeballs, where does your money go. They want to be different. They want you to visit their site. They want you to use their brokerage, their agents on the buy side or sell side. We're none of those companies. We're the layer above the industry. We want to be the kind of like the Google for real estate when it comes to valuations and understanding valuations and what's going on in a particular neighborhood, particular city, or even a subdivision.
So will your numbers end up on Zillow then?
Possibly. Okay, we've been approached by several companies to do some licensing or some partnerships, but we're still developing and discussing that. Yes, sir. You've been waiting for such a long time.
Yeah.
Appreciate your patience.
Do you have any plan to collect all the data of the customers that are visiting those properties? Because one thing is all the data that you can get from MLS or so forth, but if you have 10 people or 50 people visiting a house, you can get feedback from them and try to figure out what's going on.
Sure. Feedback is one thing, and what we're focused on is the value. The way a value is actually generated when something is bought and sold. That's what any willing and able buyer is willing to pay. That's where it's established. I could put on a property and just ask $20 million for it. Doesn't mean I'm going to get $20 million for it. It could be undervalued or it could be overvalued. So a consumer's opinion at that point really isn't that relevant for valuation purposes. There's some companies in the Bay Area that we know of. That's what they actually focus on, is just real estate feedback and agent feedback. But once again, it doesn't solve the question of what is that property worth or what's going on in this particular area. Because once again, it's just opinion. It's opinion based.
To add to this, I want to get this data kind of like a feedback when 50 people visited the property and says, it's crap, like plumbing is bad or something.
Yes.
Right? I definitely want to have a hold on it. Yeah. But again, it's emergent.
It's not the bread and butter though. That's not going to be the core. And actually, what we did is a use case. I bought a property about a month ago in Arizona. I bought it. I used our algorithm to see that the neighborhood where it's trending, where the price, we rehabbed it, we put it in the market, we put it on the top side of it, and we're getting some feedback, and so we're using some of the algorithms to see where it's at, and we're pricing it, and we're adjusting it to the point where it's going to sell in an area where it should take much substantially longer to do it. So we're using some real case studies and real case perspectives as well. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. The first, because I'm not as familiar with the real estate market, do you only have the sales data, or do you also have all the various offers that came in? Right, so one thing that would be very valuable.
You can't get offers.
So you can't.
Unfortunately, that's the biggest issue. When you're dealing with real estate, these folks are licensed. They have to do CD every 2 years, and they have to abide by NARs, which is National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. And one of them is you cannot do a disservice to your client, whether it's a buyer or seller. And one of them is understanding of what multiple offers are. I've been in situations where I wanted to know, where some agent told me, hey, there's multiple offers. I'm thinking to myself, prove it to me, show me. Yeah. You're bluffing me here. Yeah. I don't know, and there's other situations, like that gentleman said, where it's a hot market. Oh my gosh, you can have a house that's listed for 1.5. He can get 20 offers. Seriously, I've seen a property in Arizona. There were 67 offers. 67. I'm like, what are these people doing? This is ridiculous. And so, I mean, being in a situation where you have 67 offers, what do you do as an agent? You're going nuts.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, these are the challenges, folks, that we see. I mean, it's affecting, obviously, us much deeper than anything else, because this is where we live. I mean, this is where we raise our families. This is where we create memories. And one of the things is you want to be a responsible steward of your money. You want to make sure that you're not in a position where you lose your home, like in 2006, 7, 8, and 9, or what have you not. I mean, it's just another tool that essentially we want to help the industry as well as the consumers. So I thank you for your time. And the best part about it is you folks were all involved. Thank you.
Thank you.